everyone, my name is Karen, this is my channel RatherBeReading, and today I'm bringing to you a recent reads video. So we're working with a new angle again today. I think I mentioned in the other videos that I filmed recently that I was going to move the desk to over in front of the window, which I have done, but I'm not actually sitting directly in front of it because you get kind of a weird angle of the bookshelves. I'm kind of sitting on this weird side angle, but I'm still able to rest my books and things on and the tripod on the desk. And I think this is kind of an okay angle. I think it's going to be a lot better for lighting. So let me know what you guys think of this. So it has been a week since I last checked in for a recent reads video. It's been a very mixed week with my reading, which we'll get into. I completed a total of 4 books. And so I was very I mentioned it in my recent reads video last week that I was kind of slumpy towards the end of the week, and then things kind of picked up and then dropped back off again. And then I was not feeling very well at the end part of last week. I had Thursday and Friday off from work. I had a terrible headache, so I wasn't listening to audiobooks. I wasn't really doing much reading. So that definitely slowed things down, but I did still complete 4 things. So let's jump in and talk about those books first. So the first book that I completed was The Beauty That Remains by Ashley Woodfolk. I listened to this on audio. It is narrated on audio by Michael Crouch, Alicia Rainwright, and Jackie Chung. My cats, man. I feel like they used to just sleep while I was filming, and then in the past couple of weeks, they've just always been going mental when I'm filming. So Ashley Woodfolk is a Black author, and this follows 3 separate main characters, one of which is Black, the other is a Korean American girl who is adopted, and the third is a gay boy. The story mainly is following and dealing with grief. We have one of the main characters' best friend recently died in a car accident. Another one's twin sister recently lost her battle with leukemia. Now I've got cats jumping on the desk. You're gonna have to get down, baby. Sorry about that. Recently lost her battle with leukemia, and then the other one's ex-boyfriend recently died from suicide. And so we're very much dealing with, obviously, grief and them dealing with those losses. All of the losses are quite recent. The book deals heavily with music. Each of them is involved kind of in music in different ways. So there's a lot of that in there. I liked that it really depicted the different ways that grief can kind of manifest, and it deals a lot with kind of the guilt we feel. We often feel following the death of someone close to us. Like I said, there was really good diversity in there. I didn't think all of the perspectives were as strong as each other. I didn't connect to this the way that I wanted to. I did enjoy it overall. In the end, I gave it 3.25 stars. I then read The Host by Stephanie Meyer. I finally finished this huge book that I feel like I'm the last person on the planet to read, although I know I'm not, because someone commented last week that they'd never read this. So this is obviously Stephanie Meyer's, the author of Twilight. This is her follow-up, and I'd never read it, and I finally picked it up. This is, I think this was more aimed at adults as opposed to young adults. It's sci-fi. It's basically, and I said last week that all I'd known about it was that I thought it was kind of an Invasion of the Body Snatchers type of situation. And that's basically what it is. But we're actually following one of the invaders, so to speak. We're following the character that has been implanted into the consciousness of a human, but it doesn't all go as well as it should, and the human is still present within the mind, but so is the new host of the body. And we're basically following that story. This is too long. Easily, I would say at least 200 pages too long. There are parts of this that are so slow and so boring. So I had very mixed feelings on this because, like I said, there were parts that I actually really did like, but there were other parts super slow and super boring. There were parts of this that I thought were really weirdly, kind of problematic. I hate that word, but it is what it is. There's a lot of weird relationship dynamics with a lot of 17-year-old girls with men in their middle 20s, and then it's just explained away as, oh, it's a post-apocalyptic world, so we have to take what we can get. Kind of creepy. And then there's also the very first time that there's a flashback to when the human Melanie met up with this guy who has the relationship with, Jared, with the first time that they met, which is like several years following like this like invasion, and the, humans are on the run and all of that, and he just like kisses her, like kind of attack kisses her, and it's all just explained away as, oh, I haven't seen a girl in a really long time. And I was just like, no, not okay. This also, I thought, I won't spoil anything, but I thought the ending was a bit too all tied up really nicely and neatly, which I wasn't a huge fan of. But there were other parts that I enjoyed. I think the premise is super, super interesting. I like that we're following, we're both kind of following the person who's been invaded, but also the invader and like the person who's been entered into this mine and why they're there and what they're trying to do, which I kind of thought was interesting. There is also parts of this I thought were really compelling. Like I said, parts of it were really boring, but like there was a scene where a character is being attacked by someone else that went on for quite a while, but it was gripping and I thought really well done. But like I said, there were parts that were slow and there were just some parts that I was a bit like, interesting choices. So in the end, I gave this 3 stars. I then read Eternally Yours by Kate Tiernan. This is the 3rd and final book in the Immortal Beloved trilogy. This is a trilogy that is following Immortals. I believe that this is shelved everywhere as YA. And like, why young adults could read this. I was going to say YAs. Young adults could read this, but adults could easily read this as well. This is not like super teen based. We're following Immortals, who are people who are very hard to be killed. Basically, the only way you can kill them is to cut their head off. If you shoot them, stab them, like they will recover, like they won't die from drowning or strangulation or anything like that. So, or disease, like so basically, unless you cut their head off, they'll live for a really, really long time. The main character is like 450 years old, and she basically enters like a rehab type commune for immortals. But it's not like rehab in terms of like drinking drugs. It's more like a lot of immortals go through quite dark times and become not great people. There is magic in this, like the immortals can kind of perform magic, but the way that most of them use their magic until they're taught is like in a not very good way. They like they basically steal energy and life from things to use magic. And this is like, she goes to this commune about like how to do magic that like takes energy from the earth and from, like in a good magic versus dark magic type of thing. And there's a lot more that kind of goes on with it, but that's kind of the basis of it. I was interested to see kind of what really was going on in this one, because I did think that it could have probably been wrapped up in 2 books, but I don't know what it is about this series. The plot overall doesn't sound that interesting, but there's something about Kate Tiernan and her books, and I enjoy them. I really do. It also is we're building this whole book to this big kind of climactic thing, and I do think maybe that was a bit rushed, maybe, but there were real consequences in that situation. It wasn't one of those things where it's like, oh, we're entering this huge like battle type of thing and then not a single person died. That's not the case in this, which I quite like. Like I said, overall, I did quite enjoy this, and I gave this 3.5 stars. And then the final book that I read this week was The Forbidden Wish by Jessica Corey. This book fulfills one of my Book Buddy-a-thon prompts, which is to read a book with your buddy's favorite color on the cover. Chloe, who is my buddy's favorite color, is purple, and I felt like this one very much fit the bill. So this is an Aladdin retelling, told from the perspective of the genie. It's Ginny in this, not like Genie. But so it was kind of interesting because there was like some Aladdin elements, but then some things like not that you would expect. So the only character that's got like the same name even as from Aladdin is Aladdin. But there is like a Jasmine type character, but she's not called that. And then there is I guess that's kind of really it, but there is kind of like a sultan, but it's not called a sultan. And I don't know which character you would consider to be the Jafar. I don't know, but they're definitely not called Jafar. And then there's some Aladdin elements that aren't in here that I really wanted. There's no Abu, there's no flying carpet. Obviously, this is probably a more retelling of the more traditional Aladdin retelling as opposed to like the Disney movie, and I was really wanting more of a Disney movie like vibe to this. So I had mixed feelings on this as well. I thought The main romance that happens in this, I was not like into. I didn't like have an issue with it, but I just did not connect to it. It was one of those ones where it kind of felt like it came out of nowhere. It wasn't necessarily insta-love because the characters had been around each other for a long time. Well, like had been, you know, known each other and been in contact and blah, blah, blah. But then it was just all of a sudden there was like a switch where it was like, oh, we're in love. And I was like, oh, are we? Okay. I didn't really pick up on that like throughout the story. My favorite character was the Jasmine type character, and frankly, she wasn't in this enough. Like, there was hardly any of her. I did really, really enjoy the setting. Like I said, so just kind of mixed feelings about this. In the end, I gave this 3.25 stars. So those are the books that I read. Now quickly to touch on what I'm currently reading, and this is a big old mess, my currently reading. I am technically still reading The Ship of Destiny by Robin Hobb. I mentioned that that's the audiobook that I got 42%. I know this now because I got 42% of the way through and it got returned to the library before I could complete it. That has now come back into my possession, but I've got other books that have got like more pressing due dates. So I'm not exactly sure when I'm going to be able to pick it up and listen to the second half of it, but I do have it back, which is how I know I was 42% of the way through. So I'm not actively reading that, but it is still on my currently reading. And then I have another audiobook situation that happened this week that I was listening to again, but better, by Christine Riccio. I started it on Wednesday, and I knew that it was going to expire at the end of the week. And I was like, it's only 12 hours. I should easily be able to get it done. And I listened to 38% of it on Wednesday. And then I was really unwell on Thursday and Friday, and I didn't end up listening to any audiobook. I didn't do any audiobook listening for the rest of the week. And so that's now returned to the library and I didn't get to finish it. I wasn't, to be fair, I wasn't super loving it. So I was kind of like now in that situation where I was like, do I just like DNF it and not worry? But then I was like, I wouldn't have DNF'd it. So I feel like I should give the ending part a fair shot. And so I am going to put that back on hold, but I won't be finishing that until whenever that comes back in. So I've now got 2 audiobooks that I'm like partway through that I'm not actively reading. So that's a mess. Then in terms of my actual like non-audiobook that I'm currently reading, I'm currently reading I Know Your Secret by Ruth Held. I just started this last night and I got 55% of the way through, which I'm really happy with. So I'm over halfway through. This is one of my NetGalley arcs. And this is a thriller, and it's basically about 2 women who, one is a therapist and one is a patient who's visiting the therapist. And we know that both of these women have kind of secrets in their past. And that's kind of just really the basis of what it's about. So those are the books that I'm currently reading, and those are the books that I did read over the past week. I would love to chat with you guys in the comments down below. If you've got any thoughts on any of the books that I read, or if you want to chat about what you guys have been reading, I would love to know. Please like this video if you liked it. Please subscribe if you want to see more from my channel. That is all I have for this video today. Bye guys.